So, like, they look very similar.
Yeah.
Shockingly, and they sound really similar.
You don't really notice it until it's pointed out, but once you point it out, you can't unsee it.
So, that isn't what connected it for me at first. Because I can't control these random spurts of just, I've been calling it madness, where I just make connections without meaning to.
The strings, they're all attached.
Yeah, I was listening to something, I don't remember what, but it really just, like, triggered, like, an analytical part of my brain, because I've been doing a lot of that with whatever research nonsense I've been doing. And, yeah, I was like, Richard Nixon, like, yeah, he's got a real funny way of talking. Like, that's like, it's so, like, iconic.
Yeah.
I was like, And then somehow my brain, I think it was like a lightning bolt moment, I was like, you know who else who talked real funny? L. Ron Hubbard. They almost sound the same. And then it's like 2001 like images, like, and I just saw like Nixon and then fucking L. Ron Hubbard in my head, and I was just like, they look kind of alike. And I was like, what did they look like when they were young? And then
Real similar.
And then they look pretty fucking similar.
Which led to us sort of riffing out a little bit, but like,
and
they're like clones at this point. They're almost clones.
So again, the madnesses that have been happening, it's usually like late in the early mornings.
Yeah.
So it's like 2 a.m. And then usually Kevin's the only one awake, and so I'm just like, Kevin. And I was like, Nixon, L. Ron Hubbard. Like,
look at them. Do you see?
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah, I sent him like 2 clips of both of them talking. It was a whole thing.
They sound shockingly similar. I highly recommend playing like any recording.
Yeah, and then that spiraled into like this hypothetical, like, wouldn't it be really funny if this was all like some sort of secret plot, right? And they're clones.
They're clones of the same gene.
But they were designed to do 2 different things, sent into 2 different parts of society.
Taking over the political sphere and the spiritual one.
Which led to did you coin it, or did I?
Which one?
Did I mention the Metal Gear Solid connection?
Oh, yeah.
Or
you did.
Okay.
Because it became solid Dick Nixon and then Liquid Nixon, which is what the L in L. Ron Hubbard stands for.
The liquid Nixon. It was in front of us all along.
We just didn't have eyes to see. Kojima, you're right about everything.
And so yeah, that was just a mad rant I hit Kevin funny. With randomly, because I've been doing that quite a lot. And I won't go into it, but he said, wow, you should show this to Rob. Because Rob's also usually awake at this time. And I was I can't. Last night, I bugged him about, I think I figured out the origin of space whales and space tech in science fiction. So yeah.
As we know, it all comes back to space whales.
It really does.
So this is...
Which actually brings us into the main thing we need to talk about. But it's a hell of a stretch from beginning to end for me to do this.
And with that, welcome back to Scryer's Room. I am your host, Famfare.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mario.
And today, we're going to be talking about the One Piece.
One Piece. I'm doing a reread, and I'm going to be, like, puking it all over your ear holes. Because I haven't read One Piece. I've been reading One Piece since it came to America and like started being translated in Shonen Jump. That was my jumping off point. I don't know if that's when it first like was over here, but that's when I started. I was a little tyke, didn't know no better, and I've been reading it steady ever since.
One Piece is one of those things that's really like our generation's like springboard. Like a lot of us came online when that started.
Yeah.
Like that was like we were in middle school, the target audience for this thing as it was going live. Elementary school was it?
For me.
For you, yeah. I think I was in middle school. But yeah, like that's wait, when did One Piece come out?
98?
Oh, fuck, dude, that's way earlier than I thought. I thought it was like early 2000s.
I think it made it to America in the early 2000s.
90-something.
Yeah, 90-something. Let me look into that real fast.
Okay, wow, that's way
it's been around for a minute.
That's way older than I thought.
I didn't get into it till like way later.
I don't know why I was thinking 2004, like something like or 2001, like Naruto.
First episode came out in 1999.
Okay, that makes more sense.
That's the anime.
Right before.
And regardless, I've been reading it ever since, and I haven't read the beginning certainly in a long time. Certainly not since I've had like adult think I know what writing is eyes, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm probably, because of this, I'm going to be focusing a lot on like what is One Piece doing from a writing perspective. But I am also really trying to dig in and look for like the origins of each part of One Piece. Like, one thing that I noticed that I don't think a lot of people have is there's a character who was only just introduced in the newest arc, who was the left hand of the Pirate King named Scopper Gaban, I think. And I probably pronounced that wrong because I've never said it out loud before, like right this time. That was the first time, which was a mistake. It felt wrong coming out.
Okay.
Regardless, in chapter 19, in a flashback from Buggy the Clown, you can see him. He's pretty front and center in like one of the... It's a small panel.
The deluxe guy?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, yeah. Yeah, it definitely looked like him.
You can see where like the design language of One Piece has evolved since like those early chapters, but like that's pretty much him.
Yeah, 100%. Same language.
And that's what I'm really going to be looking into. I really think as somebody makes something that like lasts this long, a big thing that you're going to see is things that like come up from earlier in the story that are expounded on. That's how you like, you make your world bigger. Mm-hmm. And by making it smaller, ironically.
You put all these little things there and then you expound upon them later as the story goes along.
Exactly. And that's really what I'm going to be talking a lot about as we get through some stuff. But especially for the very beginning, I really think that One Piece has a really solid beginning, and we can learn a lot of lessons about how to start our own projects and stories from how One Piece does things.
It's also just difficult to give a overview of One Piece.
Oh yeah,
it's just so massive.
There could be any number of episodes for this. One Piece is a lot.
It's over 1,000 chapters.
Yeah, we're at like 1,200 plus. I think it's crazy,
and it's not even the longest one. That's what blows my mind. For some reason, I thought it was like one of the longest ones, and like
it is one of the longest.
It is one of them, but I think like Conan like blows it out of the water. Like
Conan is definitely ahead of it.
Yeah, but
can we get a fact check on Case Closed?
Conan's like
I guess Case Closed is the show that at least the Americanized show. Yeah. I don't know if it's just called Detective Conan.
Yeah, it is.
I can't say I've like seen or read it, but from what I understand, it's more of a whodunit of the week.
It is.
Type. It is. Yeah, so
it's
100%
like,
it is.
It's much easier to just like throw those out there than it is. Like, I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I'm just
obviously that's Detective Conan. The limited amount that I had seen from when it was on Adult Swim.
I know there's like an overarching story or something.
It has an overarching story where there's like the secret organization that like.
But he's never figured it out. He's still a kid. Yeah. So like.
Yeah. I think it goes back and forth at this point. I actually don't know.
There is.
He can anamorph back into an adult?
I think so.
If he gets a certain amount of alcohol and a poison that they used to try to kill him, he can do it. He did it once, and then the first opportunity he had, he was a little kid reaching for alcohol, so everyone was like, "Oh, Conan, you can't have liquor," and he's like, "You sons of bitches, I'm trapped as a child."
Okay, didn't know that one.
Weird. That was. Oh wow! I think One Piece might have eclipsed Detective Conan.
Oh, did it stop?
Because Detective Conan's just like monthly because it's longer chapters for like.
Oh, it is monthly.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
shit.
Oh my goodness.
Oh shit.
Whereas One Piece has been weekly and pretty fucking weekly for like 25 years.
He'll take breaks, but man, Oda's
a machine.
He's a workhorse.
This is absolutely the story that he.
This is his baby. This is his. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like chapter 1150 for Conan came out October 1st. So it's still publishing, but One Piece has fully passed it.
That's crazy. Because I remember Conan and thinking like, wow, Conan is so fucking long. It's been going on since like the 80s or whatever, so it makes sense.
And it's a detective story, which is inherently infinite. There's always another crime.
Yeah, you can always just respin an old one.
Yeah.
I bet the same mystery has been solved about 10 times. Like,
They solve a lot of similar mysteries, probably.
yeah, there's no way.
There's simply so much.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, One Piece is also pretty formulaic for its purposes. But
we get.
But it's a solid formula.
New crew members and, and power ups.
It's an effective formula, and I will expound on that. But before we get into One Piece, we have to talk about the thing that became One Piece, which is Romance Dawn.
The proto piece.
Yes. So when he was like 19, Oda put out the first Romance Dawn, which was pretty similar to the start of actual One Piece, where red-haired Shanks is there, and like it's a lot of similar characters.
Proto-Nami.
Yeah, the first One Piece thing that like has never changed is Luffy's name is just Luffy. From 1990 whatever he put out the Romance Dawn to today. Luffy's name is Luffy. Monkey D. Luffy. And the start of Romance Dawn is like, while he's just sort of drifting aimlessly, he sees another pirate ship. And then we get to the village, and the village knows that a pirate ship is coming, and they're all scared. But there's this girl with a sword named Shiruku? I don't know. It's clearly Nami wearing a ponytail.
Yep.
And she says they need to fight back, and they need to prepare, but all the townspeople are scared. And then the pirate ship eventually gets to land, and Luffy beat the shit out of everybody already, pretty much for unknown reasons. He boarded them, they got mad, so it was hands o'clock for Luffy.
Damn, you just threw him.
Yeah.
These hands rated E for everyone.
And,
Bow, bow, bow.
and that stays real consistent for Luffy.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
The pirate captain is clearly like a proto version of Buggy, I think. He's called Crescent Moon Gyari, and he claims to be the man about to enter the best three, which assumedly is like a pirate ranking of some sort.
Yeah.
But it does also feel kind of apocryphal that One Piece would indeed become one of the big three.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
That's me being silly. But Luffy enters town at this point. He gets off the ship like, all right, later, losers. And meets Shiraku, who tries to kill him, obviously. He's a pirate from a pirate ship who just like came into their village. And he stops her because he's still Luffy and she's still Nami, which means that she doesn't really have the ability to harm him. He's got superpowers, basically. He's just more powerful. And he explains that there's two different kinds of pirates. There are Morganeers and there are Peacemains. You see, Morganeers are the real pillaging and assaulting people kind of pirate. And then Peacemains are just sort of anarchists of the sea who whip the asses of those guys. You'll notice this isn't a part of One Piece.
No, not even kind of.
Those words don't exist in the main One Piece. If somebody can point out where it is said, I'd love to see it, but I think it's not mentioned at all.
And this is called The Romance Dawn?
This is Romance Dawn right now. And one of the things that I have written down is that the Morganeer, Peacemain, Marine like environment is just there are three kinds of people in this world, Chuck. There are dicks, pussies, and assholes. It's the dumb bit from Team America because, of course Morganeers hate Peacemains. They get fucked by Peacemains. But Peacemains also fuck Marines, Chuck.
And if Peacemains didn't fuck Marines, you'd get your Morganeers and your
Peacemains all covered in Navy.
It's so unimportant, but I want to say it. I probably also have discovered a possible origin for those puppet designs. Anyway, continue. That they use in Team America. Sorry.
Well, do we have to extrapolate on that now? I want to hear about that.
There's like old television shows from like the 1960s.
Oh yeah, like
50s
Thunderbirds. And
yes.
Yeah, I have a DVD of Thunderbirds I was supposed to bring over.
And they look very much like those puppets.
Thunderbirds.
They're very
It's like an action TV show if it was all done by puppets like Team America.
That fucking
Thunderbolt Fantasy, but like
Thunderbolt Fantasy,
but
yeah.
like
yeah.
The boys in the military, like but
It's,
that style.
But unironic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds excellent.
Yeah. It's. I haven't watched it yet, but I do have the DVD, and I keep forgetting to.
Compared to like Team America, with like the Randy character at the very beginning, it's just like no. We stopped all the terrorists. No need to thank us as they blew up everything. Like
fully knocked over the Eiffel Tower, blew up the pyramids.
It's so fucked up.
Anyway, sorry. Back to that.
Back to Romance
back to
Dawn.
Romance Dawn. Sorry.
They redo.
My madness.
This is the first iteration of Luffy's backstory, where they do a flashback, and Luffy is a little kid palling around with Shanks and his crew, and while they're all talking about being pirates, Luffy just picks up the gum fruit, which they picked up while they were pirating, and he eats it, and he's like, "This is gross." That's one of the few things that about gum, the devil fruits that we know. They don't taste good.
Yeah.
But at this point, the gum fruit is a fruit from the illusion tree that only bears fruit every 50 years at most. Sure, whatever.
Okay.
Shanks in this version is also extremely Bishonen. He really goes out of his way to make him like a pretty
beautiful,
boy, pretty boy design.
Limbed,
yeah,
monster.
He's even with he's got a little beard. He's not quite a yaoi monster, but like the art also isn't as good as One Piece starts up.
Yeah, makes
so
sense.
he's a little bit yaoi monster.
Is he like does he have some of like Mihawk's features?
No, he still looks very much like Shanks.
Okay.
But
because Mihawk is like the Count of Monte Cristo, basically, like suave swordsman man.
He is also one of the characters that rocks the Always Sunny Mac look of big long coat, no shirt.
Oh, power move!
Yeah,
power move. What a bastard!
With his sword as big as he is, basically.
That is the mast of his ship as he moves around. But this time, Shanks loses his arm because Luffy was trying to paddle out to sea in a dinghy, and a shark attacked. And Shanks jumps in the water and summarily has his arm bitten off.
Tragic.
Yes. And then we go back to town, and it's an ordeal where the Gyari has gotten free, and now he's really going to pillage this town for this asshole. And then Luffy whips the shit out of him. It's not a complicated story. That's pretty much it for the first Romance Dawn. It doesn't really have any promise of anything else happening in it, but it's clearly this is where One Piece is getting its start. Now there is another version of Romance Dawn that he made. That was the second prototype. But this prototype was made essentially being told you're going to make this manga afterwards. This is the proof of concept. And knowing that, he decided that instead of just doing the same story again, and then again when One Piece actually does start, this time he'll add some things that he didn't really put before, or he won't put in the actual One Piece start. In the start of this one, Luffy is once again in a dinghy that is about to sink because a giant bird fell on him, and he tries to use the bird's butt to plug the hole in the ship. But apparently this bird, named Balloon, belongs to Anne, another assumed identity for Nami, after she cut off Shiroku's ponytail, but before her hair grew out long enough to actually be Nami for One Piece to introduce her. In this version, Luffy faces dark magic.
Oh, okay. Holy shit, that escalated.
Yeah.
What will you do against my sorcery, pirate?
Yeah, there's
out of nowhere.
The pirate enemy in this captures Balloon, who's apparently a rock, a magical bird, ROC.
Okay, yeah.
And he flies around on a witch's broom.
Oh.
And he throws fireballs that are more than powerful enough.
He's just comic
to sink a ship. He just blasts.
That's actually quite a hazard. A comic from Kamek from Mario. What is he called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's essentially that.
Yeah, flying around fucking green goblining fucking ships. What a menace.
Yeah.
What a menace.
And he wants this fucking bird for its magical fruity blood.
Well, wow.
So we don't know why.
Pretty good villain.
By the way.
As far as a villain that you need to fight. He's doing good.
He kidnaps lovable mascots and is a dick and wants to drink their blood.
Oh, if only there was a hero to thwart him.
Yes. Who, he is just hands. That is the hero to thwart him. Hands, always throwing hands. And that is Luffy's goal.
I always really appreciated... One thing that exists is pretty pervasive within the shonen genre, but a lot of your storytelling in general, is the punchy pugilist hero.
Yeah.
And the kind of, like, simple purity in just beating a man or woman in an egalitarian society to submission with your bare-ass hands.
Yeah, because there's always, like, well, that guy he won't be reasoned with, so it's hands.
Well, not only that, but it's like... Okay, if it has to come to violence, sure, we can use weapons like guns or swords or, like, have weapons. No, I'm just going to throw my hands.
Whip the shit out of you.
There's a degree of skill that requires that to be effective. That's kind of cool and appealing.
Yeah.
And then also, you can pull a punch. Like, I can't unstab you, but I can, like, not punch you to death.
My gun doesn't have a stun setting.
Yeah, so there's, like, a degree of justice associated with the punching, and that's why Luffy is such a likable character, because, like, yeah, he'll bloody your lip, but he's not going to kill your ass, unless you make his friends cry, in which case, yeah, he'll ice you.
He does ice more than his fair share on occasion.
Which, in that, like, vein, not in this Romance Dawn or whatever, but the Luffy that comes... He's like the epitome of what you were describing, because something that's great about Luffy that you don't see a lot with other characters is he rarely has like internal dialogue.
Yeah. He says what he thinks.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Luffy doesn't take time to make decisions. He just goes. Yeah. Like he almost never hesitates. Like
very shonen. Very
and then he almost never has that like
really the only moment of introspection that I can think of is when he like briefly had to consider using the cure that would like take like so many years off his life in Impel Down.
Yeah. But it's like he is like on the opposite end of the slider of like where the other end is JoJo's, where they explain everything.
Almost all that show is internal.
I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do and how I came to this irrational decision.
Speedwagon just explaining what's happening as it's happening.
Yeah.
That doesn't not happen with Luffy ever.
No.
Pretty much. I'm sure there's occasions where like, he has...
If you need like an explanation for what Luffy's doing, normally it's the guy whose face is getting punched who's like, "Nani?" And then he just like expounds on what must be happening.
Yeah, the series of events is usually pirates come into conflict with them, and it's like they're not going to back down. So Luffy's just like, "Okay, well, I'm going to kick your ass."
Yeah.
And then he does. That's it. Like,
pretty good formula.
That's basically his decision-making
Speaking
process.
of the formula, this series also explains the Peacemain Morganeer dichotomy. Once again, explaining it to not Nami as to why he's a cool pirate and those other pirates are dick pirates. And frankly, I'm glad that the idea didn't make it to One Piece. Like, the idea that like you can easily sort pirates into good team and bad team.
Yeah.
Because, like, one of the core themes of One Piece is that there's no good team to join. It's about being a good person.
Yeah.
And then both, like, the Marines, pirates, civilian, X other thing, it's just about, like, well, who's doing it?
Yeah, the closest thing you probably get in, like, One Piece proper is the warlords of the sea.
Yeah, they're mostly dicks.
And then, because they're just basically, like, privateers.
Yeah, they're the pirates that the Navy was like, you're so good at being a dick that we're going to pay you to mostly be a dick to other pirates.
But it's like, even within the warlords, it's like you have that same, like, split.
Yeah.
It's like some of them are pretty chill, and then, like, other ones are just, like, evil dicks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
This, Romance Dawn is very interesting also because even though we see another version of Luffy's backstory where instead of getting his hat from Shanks and the gum fruit from Shanks, this time it's his grandpa, who he lived and trained with, who was not a Marine, but a Peacemain pirate. And that's where Luffy got his dream to be a Peacemain pirate. And he tried out a bunch of other things that didn't make it in like that, like being a Peacemain. But, like, you can see where, like, oh, well, his grandfather is still Garp in One Piece. He's still the same character, essentially. And, like, I think he doesn't have useless ideas, generally. Things typically come up. But the dark magic thing probably isn't related to anything. That is, genuinely, I think he just needed an enemy character that didn't use one of the, like, powers that he would later use in One Piece.
Well, I was trying to think of an example of, like, is there, like, magic somewhere besides, like, devil fruits and shit? But the only thing is maybe, like, Django's hypnotism?
So the thing about oh god, I hadn't thought about that.
That's the only one I can think of, like, off the top of my head.
So really recently in One Piece, we got introduced to the elders, who have, like, we don't know if they're like a mystical devil fruit or what, but, like, they turn into giant demon monsters that are, like, based off of yokai from, like, ancient legends of Japan. But, like, they summon themselves onto the battlefield with, like, big magical crests that, like, teleport them down. And then, like, they're effectively immortal in some ways. And the Royal Knights who work for them are also immortal somehow, where, like, if you cut them up, they just, like, reform together. And they're not doing that with devil fruit powers. That's just a thing that's happening.
Pretty sick nasty.
But that also is separated by 2 decades of publishing time.
Which it's like, there could be any number of explanations in One Piece for how they're doing that.
Yeah.
Like, it gets pretty bonkers.
I think he genuinely was just trying out something that he didn't necessarily intend to use in One Piece. Because we have devil fruits and hockey and cyborgs and ancient technology, but actual this wizard is so powerful.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. It was like, we have things in One Piece that are, like, all but magic by any other name, but it's like there's never, as far as I can remember, besides Django, where there's a guy or someone who just, like, yeah, and then, like, they get you with
their magic.
Yeah, like something. Like, it's
Gosh. So this is my first time writing out a thing that I'm going to then talk about at length. This is a good learning experience for me. I hope everybody is able to play along a little bit. Romance Dawn is such a microcosm of how do you start One Piece. And it's 2 tries that are pretty good tries, but they're not ready yet, really. I don't think One Piece would have been as good if Romance Dawn genuinely was Chapter 1. But then we go into One Piece itself. By the way, if you're curious, he beat up the wizard guy, and The Rock and the girl who's pretending she isn't Nami, they go live happily ever after while Luffy goes on to be other pirate stuff. Yay! Sorry, it's just not a very, like...
very cliche. Yeah, very not inspired.
It's not meant to be anything more than what it is.
You could make something out of those, but
there's no bizarre adventure elements of, like, I'm only getting this out of that, you know?
Whereas, once you get into One Piece, the actual start of One Piece, everybody knows, because it's just the start of the anime. The... Legend of Gold Roger.
Oh, yeah.
my fortune is yours for the taking, but you have to find it first. Yeah.
I left it all in One Piece.
Gotta go.
Yo, gotta go. God damn.
Dreaming.
Regardless, that is the opening of One Piece. And then we get to Luffy with his flashback as a kid, palling around with Shanks. And then they get wrapped up with mountain bandits, resulting in a big old fight. That's pretty much all that happens in the flashback, really. Luffy eats the gum fruit, which we learn more about later, but right now we know it makes him rubbery. We have our first hint at hockey, I guess, or like the same visual language of the mechanism of intimidation that became Conqueror's hockey way in the future is shown.
Okay. Which, the beginning's also a huge meme.
Yeah.
Because Shanks is, like, one of the strongest dudes.
And
this, like...
Yeah.
Bottom of the barrel, random-ass sea monster just got him, which those are, like, fodder monsters later
a monster
on.
that importantly, Luffy, once he decides to leave home, start of series Luffy, punches it in the face and it like runs away in fear. But at this point in time, I did a small amount of like, well, how powerful would Shanks be at this point? Shanks, at the very least, is strong enough to be fighting the guy who's called the strongest swordsman in the world.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so how did he lose his foot?
He didn't lose... Well, his arm.
His arm, sorry, yeah.
Because...
And that's the meme, is that this random-ass
How did that random-ass fish bite it off?
Got his fucking arm because he was trying to save Luffy.
Yeah.
When later, they just basically flick these things away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's like one of the inconsistencies, but it's like the first chapter. Like, you know, come on.
Yeah.
Cut him some slack.
That's fine.
I think if we must come up to like a conclusion with it of like why would he do that, Shanks in this very much is a pacifist. When the mountain bandits are like fucking up the bar and everything, he's like, you need to stop. But like when they're like pouring drinks on him, he's like, yeah, it's funny, whatever. Yeah. He could give a shit. It's once they fuck with somebody else that he does something. And then, being this pacifist sort of person, he wouldn't just rock up and like slay the creature that's about to bite the child. He'd sort of let it happen because he'd rather not harm anybody.
I could see that. He's not going to kill a random animal.
Yeah.
He's rather just save the boy.
Yeah.
I'd buy that. That's wholesome.
And that is like in line with Shanks' character. It doesn't necessarily like bury that hole, but it's I buy it. I'll buy that for $5.
I want to believe that's the case. I live in that universe.
It's because like armament hockey, which doesn't come up till like way later, can make you basically like bulletproof.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know how the power systems work.
But, so it's like in hindsight, it doesn't make any sense. But it's like shut up. It's like it's thematic, you know. It's like it's part of it. It's part of the setup of the beginning, guys.
It is.
Like,
it really is slack. Because
he's so consistent later on. Like
it is. And when they show like Conqueror's Hockey later, which this is supposed to be, they use the exact same visual language of how the eyes work and everything. It's very. I think he really did a good job paying attention to his own work. Is a terrible way to put it, but consistency is something to be rewarded, I think.
Oh, for sure. Some people don't do it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm convinced like he had to put hockey in there because Logia types were just too strong.
So, yes, and it's an explanation for many of the physical like characters who grow in strength so incredibly. Like we know right offhand during the Sanji arc where we first meet Mihawk that there's a guy who can cut through boats, which just mathematically doesn't work with the length of a sword.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's hints earlier on about like things that would be explained with hockey later, I think. Because it simply had to come down to like, well, what is the power system of this world? People do just get devil fruits, but the strongest people in the world say like, you don't need a devil fruit. It just makes you unable to swim. So how could they possibly think that if there isn't an alternative power system?
Yeah.
There is. Hockey. So obviously I don't think hockey was thought out until far later, but you know, this inspires fear in those weaker than you. Might as well be Conqueror's Hockey. And the Sea King here did bite off Shanks' arm. I don't know. I think that he lost his dominant arm, like he was left-handed, and he lost his left arm, and that's part of why he's considered like to be tremendously weaker. But you know, in terms of like things to explain why this incredibly powerful character in the future isn't 100 times more incredibly powerful, he had 10 years. Losing your dominant arm is a pretty good reason, I think.
True shit.
An interesting thing that I really liked that I think stays consistent also is Shanks' swordsmanship and the way that he just holds his sword. Even when it's at his side, it's got a handle more like a katana than like a cutlass. And he holds it much like he rests his hands on it as if it's a katana. I don't know if that's like a purposeful thing for like his characterization later or if his sword is special in some way. I really dig the design of the half cutlass, half katana though.
That's pretty sick.
It's pretty sick.
Pretty sick nasty.
regardless, once we get out of flashback times, that's when we have Luffy in just a boat, just drifting. He loves drifting.
He's stowed away because he obviously has no money.
Yeah, he's out on like a little shitty raft out in the sea, and then he's like, a whirlpool. It's very sad that I die this way, but it does make sense. I do only have a dinghy, and this is a whirlpool. And he's like, goodbye, world, as he's going down. And then we cut away from Luffy. He's dead to us, for all we know. And then we go to Kobe. Kobe is the saddest little nerd boy.
Oh, he's so sad.
Who is enslaved.
He really is.
Oh, presumably that would kill Luffy because devil fruits make it so you can't swim. I think we mentioned it, but just to clarify that.
To clarify, Luffy is like, yeah, it makes sense that this is what takes me out because he cannot swim. Once you're in the water, in Romance Dawn, they call it becoming a hammer. That language obviously didn't continue through One Piece. Okay. I presume that it's like a Japanese saying or turn of phrase.
I was just saying it's probably like a weird translation thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing on that.
Regardless, they think he's dead. And we're supposed to think he's dead. Kobe is very sad, getting bossed around by pirates, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, boss." Oh, and he sees out on the beach while they are docked, I suppose, ashore. But he sees a barrel wash up on the beach, perhaps from the ship that they just sank. And then he takes it, and it's labeled for rum. And then he starts dragging it while rolling it and dragging it up into the shed where they keep all their stuff. And the other pirates are like, "What do you got there?" And he's like, "There's a rum barrel that washed ashore." And they're like, "Well, I suppose that the captain doesn't need to know about everything. Isn't that right, Kobe?" And he's like, "Yes, boss." And they're like, "Get the hell out of here, Kobe. We're going to get drunk on this barrel full of liquor that is more than enough to kill us." And as he is walking away, they go to tap the barrel. Luffy pops out.
Fun.
Yeah. And he's like, "I lived. No one saw it. I got in the barrel. And now I made it ashore. This is great." And they assume that he is like a mercenary that Kobe has hired to take out the captain and
that's quite the causal leap.
Which is crazy because Kobe's like, "I gave it to you. I thought it was rum." And they're like, "You little slimy fucker. We knew it. It's because we abuse you all the time." And he's like, "You do abuse me all the time." And they're like, "Shut up." So Luffy now is quote unquote captured. And he meets the captain, Iron Mace Alvida, who is quite a heavy lass.
It's just,
a little bit.
Just this gargantuan lady.
Yeah, and
who makes everyone tell her she's pretty.
Yeah, and she also makes "You got to clean this boat spick and span every day, Kobe. If I come over here and there's even a schmutz on my finger, you're gonna get the mace." Because she has a giant I think it's called a kanobo.
Yeah, she's got the ogre thing.
Yeah, like an ogre bat.
Oh,
that
man.
She's
just an ogre lady.
Club.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And
the bar mace of doom.
But interestingly, I didn't really have the wherewithal, I suppose, at that age to realize her obsession with being spick and span is foreshadowing for her power in the future.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't put that together either.
She gets the slip fruit.
Yeah.
And it's like soap.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Interesting.
Soap's a different one.
Soap's different, but she gets slip.
She's like, she can just become frictionless.
Yeah.
Basically.
And
it's pretty cool, actually.
The weight just slid right off.
Yeah.
And
now she's hot.
Yeah.
Wow. God bless. Yeah, of course.
But that's after. That's
later. After a whole other thing. While in this arc, she is fat and unhappy, and Luffy is like, "Damn, you're also ugly too." And she's like, "Well, it's time to crush his head with a bat."
Yeah, because Luffy's empty head, no thoughts.
Yeah. So she whacks him, which then reveals that Luffy is
made of rubber.
He's made of rubber. He's immune to bludgeoning damage.
Pretty good move.
It's an extremely good move that is essentially, it's busted until really late in the game for One Piece, being made of rubber. But at the same time that he is mouthing off to Alvida, he gets Kobe's courage up a little bit, and Kobe says it too because he's tired of being abused by her. and then Luffy beats up everybody, and they steal a little ship, and it's just Luffy and Kobe out here on the seas.
Yeah, with Luffy doing like Looney Tunes tactics.
Yeah.
Like running by like the mast and like grabbing it and then like keep running and then turn around and boing.
I love it, dude.
It's pretty good.
One thing I have to say about One Piece from the get-go is I have to like really exalt its art choices. As I've been reading this, I've brought this up like 3 or 4 times to these guys already. They've already heard this. The dynamic nature of every like panel and all of the perspective choices that go into like Luffy needs to stretch. We need to get a sense of how far he's stretched. Perspective is how he chose to show it to us, and it pays off tremendously every single time. As I was reading it, all I could think about was all the stories that I'm reading that are coming out now, all the manga that are normally shitty isekai because I just, I revel in garbage generally. And, like, they not only couldn't they wouldn't if they could. They simply wouldn't. It's not the same visual language that they would use. And in terms of quality, it's like an obvious choice. They need to get out more slop, not better slop.
Yeah, I was going to say, it probably just takes way more effort to, like...
I'm sure you need to have somebody who understands how perspective works.
Yeah. Well, it's because, like, you also got to, like... I don't know if choreograph is the right word, but, like, make sure that, like, all fits on the page and,
exactly.
and works.
Yeah. You need a really keen eye for it, and frankly...
Because you were talking about in a previous episode, Toriyama was a great at paneling.
Yeah.
Which I asked...
I've really only seen...
Yeah. I asked Kevin about that. I was like, how does he compare to Toriyama for paneling? Because I don't read One Piece. I watch it. And then Kevin basically said, like, yeah, he's not quite that good, but he's good. And
especially early in the story, but then again, you can't ask somebody to be as good as you're remembering Toriyama being.
But I mean that, like, him that combined with the dynamic, all the
perspective and everything,
all that, it just really elevates the art.
It elevates it so much that it feels inevitable that One Piece became as big as it was, because there isn't another place to get this.
Yeah, exactly. What is its unique selling point? And yeah, you can only get One Piece from One Piece.
You can only get One Piece from One Piece.
The Romance Dawn stuff sounded pretty cliche and generic, and it's like, okay, yeah, whatever, man. I've watched his anime before. But the One Piece is very unique.
Romance Dawn was very cliche and generic, except it showed him in the beginning of figuring out the ways that he wanted to show perspective. Because in Romance Dawn and in this early One Piece, they really go out of their way every friggin' arc to show Luffy's immune to bullets, and they show that by Luffy gets shot, and then you see the skin stretch out, and then it bounces the bullet back. Things like that. It's being built in Romance Dawn, and by the time One Piece itself came out, he really let it all go. Because
that makes sense.
He put everything into it, and it pays off incredibly. I can't tell you, if you have any desire to like think about like how to make a visual story of any kind, the beginning of One Piece is an excellent start. It's beautiful.
I just had a random thought. I'd be really curious to know this. If Toriyama, to learn some of that, I don't know if this is a thing, but if he started reading American comics of like Mr. Fantastic or like Plastic Man and shit like that, to see like if they did something interesting or whatever. Because there's decades and decades
of Rubber Badge doing that. Yeah.
So like presumably some of those artists like
influenced
did a good job. Yeah. Like gave him ideas.
That's an interesting point. I'd love to see his thoughts on that.
Which so I'm just because it's a very specific power. Like the stretchiness.
And it's clearly a power that is. So one thing that he does really well is creative powers that have room to evolve.
Yes.
And stretchiness doesn't seem like it at first, but it really becomes so obvious.
Yeah.
And that's one of the better parts of like a revelation, is that in retrospect it does sort of become obvious.
They bring this up in JoJo's. One of the things that makes it stand powerful is how general it is,
Yeah.
Well, and,
how creative you are with it is everything.
In One Piece, they say that quite a bit, is that, like, a devil fruit's power is really only limited to, like, your imagination.
There's one guy who, like, explicitly his characterization is, I hate people who have dreams, I beat them up, and I have the devil fruit power of turning my legs into springs. And he is, like, presented as quite powerful, and then Luffy punches him, like, essentially to comatose in one blow.
Beat his ass.
Because that's a really basic use of his power. Obviously, he could only be mean to civilians. But getting back to where One Piece happens, Zoro is going to be introduced here next. And Zoro has this is the first character introduction that is supposed to be like, this is another person of main character power level. And the way that he does this without completely trivializing the story is a lot of fun. So when we meet Zoro, Zoro's imprisoned. You see the local naval commander, Captain Morgan. His son had a group of precious civilian maiming wild dogs that he liked to let, run amok. And Zoro was like, no, and stopped one of them. Cut it down to stop it from maiming a little girl. And so they were going to put him, like, they were going to execute him, but then he made a bet, which is if he can survive out here tied to this post for 1 month, then they'll let him go. And they won't hurt the kid either, because the kid was also involved. And he's like, done, do it. He's just a month tied to this post and presumably beaten severely because he's like bleeding from the mouth and he's not doing so hot tied to that post. The Captain Morgan and his son are just doing warlord shit generally, like killing civilians at random. Captain Morgan has an axe for a hand.
Yeah, it's okay. Wow,
he's got the orc god.
He's got an orc jaw
I remember
too.
this. Yeah, he's an actual fucking super villain. Look at the face I have an ass.
He is like your introduction to like, hey,
the Navy.
Sometimes the Navy's really not cool.
Yeah. We have this guy who's shredded to hell with an orc jaw and an axe hand, who's wearing an officer's greatcoat with the sleeves ripped off to show off
Navy
how shredded he is.
God bless.
Yeah, that's a good guy, all right.
A full El Presidente, I am El Good Presidente style. He built a huge statue of himself that he made them build at the top of the tallest building in the town so that it can look down on everyone properly.
Important.
And then as they're raising it, because it's also like a gigantic statue, as they're raising it, part of it gets nicked and he gets real mad at his naval guys. And then Luffy has wandered into town at this point and just sort of like launches himself up to the top of the building because he knows, like, I think it's because Zoro's swords are in there and he just talked to Zoro. But, like, he launches himself to the top of the building. He destroys the statue immediately.
Oh, great job.
And it immediately, like, pops off to where they're like, oh, we gotta kill him. But also Luffy finds out that the whole bet thing with Zoro was bullshit. The son made that bet with him, but he knew, like, it's been 9 days right now. Zoro's been, like, just starving. And they're going to kill him in 2 days. They're just going to do a big public execution now that he's too weak to fight back. And Luffy didn't care for that shit at all. As soon as Luffy hears about injustices, it's just throwing hands. He doesn't care for
my man.
This scene when he first beats up the Captain Morgan's son Helmeppo, who comes back later. The first time he punches him in the face.
Yeah. Helmeppo.
Yeah.
An integral character.
Helmeppo, the spoiled son of Captain Axehand Morgan. Everyone knows this. But anytime that Luffy meets some rich motherfucker who's taking joy in somebody, like, being, like, having cruelty done to them, he, you think you can talk your way out of this. If you think you can talk your way out of this, you better know sign language, because all you're going to see is his hands. Yep. He is just punching you in the face. He's every single time they're like, you just started a war, man. And he's like, good, I want more faces to punch. You guys have really pissed me off.
Well, it's because it's like the son or whatever is just being a dick, and then Luffy is just like, hey, I'm going to punch you, stop it. And then he's like, you know who my dad is? And Luffy's like, I don't care. I'm punching you now. And then
my man.
I know who a dick is, and it's you, and you're going to get punched.
That's pretty much how that always plays out.
Yeah.
They're just like, don't you know who I am? He's like, no. And then
don't care.
Just rocks them in the fucking face. It's so good.
So, Zoro also at this point is not trying to join a pirate crew. His title at this point is Pirate Hunter Zoro. And that's not really like an ideological stance, we find out. It's really because pirates came and attacked his village, and he chased them, and then he got lost doing so, and he just, he needed money, so he turned in the pirates. He just, murdered, I guess, and got money, and now he's like a famous pirate hunter. That's what he does, because he's lost. He doesn't know where he is.
I love that.
Yep.
Luffy...
Key characteristic of Zoro.
Luffy also, like, as soon as he hears any backstory from Zoro, immediately starts plotting, how do I make this guy join my crew? Because I can tell that he's a good guy. And Zoro's like, please don't do that. And he's like, well, what if you had your swords? He's like, if I had my swords, I could, like, beat up everybody here. I'm, like, crazy strong. And he's like, no, like, what if I had your swords? Then you have to join my crew if you want your swords back. And he's like, that's not fair. I told you that my swords were really special out of trust. And he's like, I know you did. That's
I'm a bit of a scoundrel.
I'm a pirate. Yeah.
Just like Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, this is another thing Luffy does. Like, he meets certain people, and then he
forcibly adopts
them.
has
a Luffy feeling, and he's just like, join my crew. And then he bothers them until they do.
Yep.
Bother.
But it's like, it's only certain people that he just instantly basically likes, and he's just like, you're going to be on my crew, and then eventually they are.
Yep. So when Luffy smashes the statue and like finally is like all the battle is underway, he does something that I think is really funny, which is that he takes Helmeppo, the captain's son, to use as a human shield to deter the riflemen.
Oh man.
It's a good move.
Which is very funny because there's one person that riflemen can't possibly injure. And that person is using a human shield.
Yeah. It's advertising at that point.
Yeah. What a move.
Power
And
move.
he's also using this opportunity to extract information from Helmeppo, like, where are the swords? And this
Where's
is
the Joker?
This is where we get the reveal that there's 3 swords. Which one's Zoro's? And then we get he brings all 3 down. And then when Zoro Zoro like breaks free of the post, we see how he wields all 3 in what is a really, really effective perspective shot of just 3 swordsmen.
I was gonna say this is Oda's Darth Maul moment.
Yeah, he absolutely does.
Oh, when he puts the blade in his mouth. He's
Yeah.
like, oh!
Yeah, no,
exactly.
How does that work? You're about to find out.
Yeah, pretty hype. Pretty fucking hype.
So like everyone in One Piece, though, Zoro has a backstory that involves tragedy and making a promise you cannot even begin to keep. That
sounds about right.
That's what everybody's backstory basically boils down to. His backstory, he was on an island with a sword dojo, swordsman, kendo, using Japanese or Wano-style swords. And he's really good, but he's not as good as the daughter of the sensei of the dojo. She's just better than him, even though he uses 2 swords. They have a big old rivalry, and he challenges her like 2,000 times, but he doesn't win once. And then one night, they duel with real swords, because he's like, we're going to fucking settle this shit. And she summarily like beats his ass so bad, like nobody gets hurt. She's really good. She wins again and laments that, her father is still under the impression that the rules cover women get -1 strength.
Oh man.
He hasn't updated his gameplay at all.
Yeah,
and
in this Looney Tunes world,
yeah,
where people can be like 12 feet tall.
Yeah, there's no difference. There's no necessary difference.
It doesn't make any sense.
But she's saying that I'm not going to be as strong as you. As we get older, you're going to get stronger, and then you'll win. And Zoro's like, that's horseshit. If I win, I want it to be because I'm like a better swordsman. And she's like, well, them's are the breaks. And Zoro doesn't care for that. So he makes her make a promise that one of them will become the world's greatest swordsman. Which is good that he specified one of them, because she immediately falls down the stairs, breaks her neck, and she dies. Moving on.
$1 million baby.
Horrible. And then we're out of the flashback. Don't ask any more questions. During this section, they also set up like the attainable goals of the series, which if you're writing a story, this is one of the things that you need to do after you've introduced like most of your main cast. Like the thesis of One Piece is obvious. It's the introduction. You have to go find the One Piece. It's the golden age of piracy. Go find the One Piece.
It's the better version of I'm going to be Hokage.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Even that is a thesis. And when you make a thesis, paying off the thesis is one of the biggest things that you need to do. Everything needs to tie back into the thesis in some way. Not necessarily everything's about it, but the attainable final goal is what drives us. That's why the people are reading. That's why you're doing what you're doing in the story. Beastars did not do this, which pissed me off tremendously.
Oh my god, we do not speak of that evil.
We do not speak of that evil. But regardless, that's the first big goal established in the series. But next we start to establish the goals that are necessary to meet that goal, which is what you need to do pretty quickly after you establish the main goal. First thing, Luffy needs a crew. He's just one guy on a raft. So he's going around meeting different people.
One thing I really did appreciate about One Piece, as someone who didn't really read it growing up, but everyone else around me did, going back to theses, or how would it be how would you say plural on thesis?
Hokage.
Anyway, but establishing what your thing is actually about is extremely important.
Yeah.
I will say JoJo's is one of the greatest manga and shows because it never once lied about what it's about.
Yeah.
This is a bizarre adventure about a man named JoJo.
Yes.
It has never lied about what it's about.
That is what every single one of them is about. JoJo is on a bizarre adventure.
One Piece never once lied about what it's about. We're after the One Piece. Until that has been attained, this shit is not over and not even going to be remotely kind of over. And he also basically establishes early on that, the story isn't really going to be started until Luffy establishes his crew. So, for 500 plus chapters, you're like, oh wow, this story is going so many crazy places, but in the back of your mind, we're not even remotely done.
We're not
He doesn't
done.
have his crew yet.
But we are capable of seeing the steps being taken.
Yeah, it's progress. It's all progress. None of it feels I don't know.
None of it feels like it's not moving
in the
towards
manga.
that goal.
And I'm sure the
anime
show
is
has
lousy
filler,
with filler as anything that's going on this long will.
Precisely, but the manga, yeah.
Not at first. Filler becomes a lot more. It has way less than Naruto. But there is quite a few in there. But I don't think it really starts until you get into the hundreds area, maybe 100 or 200. They'll throw a filler arc in there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There's very little there's very little that turns out to not matter in One Piece's manga, certainly. Even one thing that I assumed was anime only filler turns out to be now necessary background that we learned for the plot. The Davy backfight arc was that was important actually.
It's such a weird. Yeah, okay.
That ends up mattering, and I'll get into that when we get into that. But first, Luffy needs crew to get to. He can actually go get the One Piece, and he's collecting people as he goes. He doesn't ever ask Kobe to join him, however, because Kobe early on, tells him that his dream is to be a Marine.
Yeah,
and Luffy just respects that, which I really like. That is a.
I'm not gonna. You do your thing, man. I'm gonna do mine. You're locked in.
Yeah, if that's your dream, I'm not going to
cramp your style. Yeah.
Which is,
and he doesn't admonish him or look down on him. He's like, "That's the path you choose to walk. Even though we're gonna be on opposite sides of this thing, yeah, you're not. There's looking down on him for it.
Literally,
he's really cool.
He's of the opinion we might have to fight one day, but that'll be really cool to see you again.
Yeah, what a Chad.
Yeah,
what a good guy.
So once Zoro is free, they whip the shit out of Morgan pretty summarily. He's not that big of a threat. This is where I'm going to get into some of the more character or writing necessary steps, because we meet Nami, and she's robbing one of my all-time favorite characters, Buggy the Clown.
Yes.
Buggy is the first setup that we see for many of our future arcs. We introduce a character whose nature puts him in the Straw Hats, generally Luffy, at odds, usually over that particular person's cruelty to one of the people that Luffy likes. The enemy will normally be a pirate captain with their own crew, and due to the nature of how any crew needs to exist in this series, pretty much everybody gets to pair up into their fights. You have a sword guy in your crew, okay, my sword guy goes to fight him.
Yeah.
You have a martial artist on your crew, my cook who does kicking is going to go fight him.
Yeah, literally, Zoro's job in Luffy's crew is my swordsman.
Yeah.
That is what he does. He swords people.
He swords them. That's what he does. That's, as far as reasons for Shonen series to have that setup, I think One Piece has, one of the more reasonable ones.
I think so.
It's,
Cover your bases.
There's very few arcs that include, a flimsy reason for these characters to be fighting. There's the obvious ideological strain of whatever captains are at odds, but then also each character has their own motivations. And that's something that I can't be clear enough on. Motivation is the core of One Piece. Motivation is all but more important than a character's power level in One Piece. That's why we get all the flashbacks. That's why we get all the talk about dreams. It's establishing motivation.
Yeah.
And
important to Shonen.
I'm going to talk a bit more about that in the next episode, where I'm going to be covering, hopefully, most of the rest of the crew getting added. Unfortunately, I've never done this before. You guys have done it before, and you made it look very easy.
You did great, man. I think you did a great job.
I hope you guys enjoy hearing about One Piece. If there's any particular things you want me to talk about regarding One Piece, it'll probably be a bit staggered when I'll be able to get back to you about them, but I will absolutely try to cover them.
Yeah, go ahead and leave a comment if you have anything you want to touch over. We're in for quite a few of these episodes in this series. I'm clocking it probably around 10.
At the very least 10.
Yeah.
We're going to have at least 1 or 2 more episodes that are just me talking about how good One Piece is as the start of a story. Because as I go through this buggy arc, it's the culmination of the beginning of a story. That is, if you want to start your own story that you intend to continue on with to your own One Piece, up to the buggy arc is exactly how you start it. It establishes motivation, pattern, and characterization and scale, which I'll go into more next time.
And with that, we're going to end tonight's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy the nature of this content, go and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. You can go and give me a follow on Blue Sky, and you can support us on our Patreon. With that, have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.